Well, hello and welcome from another rainy day here in Philly. That's all it is. As we try not to cry, we smile because otherwise we would pretty much just be miserable with this weather. But the thing we're not miserable about is the Philadelphia Phillies, who now have won 5 out of the last 6 games in consecutive series. Welcome into the PHLY Phillies podcast. Tyler Zulli here. Thank you for joining us, whether you're in the chat or you're just watching along. We appreciate you, and welcome into PHLY Spirit Week, and we'll tell you a little bit more about that in just a second. But, of course, I have to tell you that our PHLY Phillies podcast is brought to you by our friends at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Use the code PHLY365, deposit just $10 and bet your first $5 and get $150 back in bonus bets, whether you win or you lose. Again, hello to you, and welcome into our Spirit Week 2025. And as you can see, there's something a little bit different with our chat today. I think it's in the chat at least. We are having a fundraiser that is immediately and directly going to our partnership with Big Brother and Big Sister of America. They're an incredible group who does amazing work giving life-changing mentorship to kids across the country. We've set a goal of $10,000, but we would love to get right through that. That is $10,000 throughout ALLCITY. So it's not just us; it's our cohorts in. At CHGO, at PHNX, at DLLS, and at DNVR. You can use that link in the video or in the description down below. And, of course, if you would like to make a larger impact and become a big, you can do that at bbbs.org/AllCity. We can do something meaningful together this week. Now, I'm going to say this because our big push is going to be on Wednesday, where we have our 12-hour stream, our streamathon, where you'll hear from all of the different hosts, the producers. We're going to play musical chairs. You'll hear some awesome guests throughout the day. And then, of course, on the PHLY Philly show, you'll see people that maybe don't necessarily spend a whole lot of time on the PHLY Philly show. But I'm going to do this. This is a call out to you today because we don't have another show until Streamathon. So this is our way of trying to generate some money for the Big Brothers Big Sisters charity, which right now we are a little bit short of our goal. We hope to get there by the end of the week. But I'm going to tell you this. Any donation of any sort, could be $1, could be $5, could be whatever you are comfortable with donating. Any donation for the next 57 minutes of this show, between now and the end of the show, will give you the opportunity to make me look foolish in any capacity you wish. I will say this, within reason. But I am going to throw this on the table. I am willing to answer any question that you may have in exchange for that donation. Yes, I'm shilling for money. But any AMA type question that you have, and I'm gonna say with the caveat again of within reason. So, like, you can ask about personal life, you can ask about professional life, you can ask Andrew, who's producing a show, you can ask Joey, who's producing the show, you can ask them a question. They don't have to answer. I do on the air. So any donation within the next hour time frame will give you any chance to ask any type of AMA type of question that you'd like, and I will answer it to the best of my ability. Or if you're looking for me to get up and do squats or jumping jacks or something,
please,
we'll do that too.
That's what I'm looking for.
Push-ups, I guess. So any donation of $10 or more will match push-up per dollar.
There you go. That's a good one.
We'll match push-up per dollar. All right, so let's get into the show. And while I'll have Andrew and Joey monitor that, but let's get into things. We have about 55 minutes left to get into a lot. And the headliner today is kind of deceiving. And I say that because I think we all had the understanding that this was going to be Zack Wheeler's last contract. But it just was kind of put into words, was put into tangible words recently that Zack Wheeler's planning to retire at the end of the 2027 season. And again, I don't think any of us had any crazy thought of him going much further. He'll be 37 at the end of the contract. I believe the phrase that he used, and I apologize for who had this description, but basically he didn't want to pitch when he was old, quote unquote. Whoever had that description, I apologize. It was one of the writers in the city. My apologies for not having it. But he basically said, I'm not going to pitch when I'm in my late 30s into my 40s, even though I think we've all come to the understanding that Zack Wheeler probably could pitch into his late 30s and early 40s because much like a fine wine, he's just aged and gotten better as he's aged. He's become a more complete pitcher. We did a video on demand last week that I almost wish we would have saved for today, where Zack Wheeler's numbers have gotten better as he's gotten older. Zack Wheeler is within the top 5 or the top 10 of basically every statistical category you can ask for of qualified pitchers since the 2020 season, since joining the Phillies. He's in the top 5, and this is just off the top of my head. I'm sure there's a lot more. He's in the top 5 or 10 of innings pitched, wins, quality starts, strikeouts, strikeout to walk ratio, strikeouts per 9. What else did we have? Hits per 9, I think. Like, the numbers, I can go back and pull them for you from the video that we did last week, but the numbers are just off the charts how good Zack Wheeler has been since joining the Phillies. And it's only been 5 years, but it feels like Zack Wheeler's been a Philly forever. And that's just because he was good with the Mets. Inconsistent and injury-plagued, he was good with the Mets. He has been elite with the Phillies. So here are his numbers with the Mets over 126 starts. 48 and 38, a 3.77 ERA, just shy of 750 innings pitched, and just shy of a 1.3 WHIP. Not bad numbers. He had better seasons in that stretch. He also missed 2015 and 2016 due to Tommy John and then complications with his rehab. And in 2017, he only made 17 starts, and he wasn't particularly good. He was very good in 2018 and then inconsistent in 2019. So as we said, the Phillies kind of took a chance with him when they signed him to the 4-year deal, or excuse me, the 4-year deal, I believe it was, that they gave him, 4 years, $180 million. But since that time, Zack Wheeler has thrown 911 innings. Only Logan Webb, at the point of when we did the video, had crossed the 900 innings threshold. I believe Jose Barrios has done it since, and Aaron Nola eventually will do it. But he's 7th in games started. He's 2nd in wins. He's only lost 34 times, which is 44th most. So in the same realm of being top 5 in innings pitched and top 2 in wins, he's 44th in losses, to put that into perspective. He's posted a 2.93 ERA since joining the Phillies. And of pitchers who have thrown at least 500 innings, that's 4th best. Of pitchers that have thrown 750 innings, that's 2nd best. He leads Major League Baseball in WAR since 2020 for pitchers. Only 4 pitchers are above a 20. He's at a 26, now over a 27. If you think about runners left on base, he's left on base 76% of the runners that he's allowed to get on base. Only 4 other pitchers are better over that stretch. His ability to limit hard contact has been excellent. 86 miles an hour is the average exit velocity that he has surrendered over a 6-year span now. He has a 33% hard hit rate, which is 3rd best in baseball. And as I said, that 86% average exit velocity is best across qualified starters. He's also crossed the 1,000 strikeout plateau since that time. And as I said, he's top 10 in strikeouts per 9, walks per 9, strikeouts per walk, home runs per 9, strikeout percentage, opponent batting average, and WHIP amongst pitchers who have thrown 750 innings. So really what I wanted to do today, because this isn't news per se, we kind of all expected it, and it's why for a GM and a team that has, for the most part, given out longer years to keep the AAV down, was willing to give out short-term and $40-some-odd million for Zack Wheeler, who pretty much said, hey, I don't want a long-term contract. I want a shorter-term deal. Let's make the money work. And the Phillies said, okay, sounds good, because he's been this freaking good since joining the team. They had a willingness to go shorter year, more AAV, which is not something Dave Dombrowski and the Phillies wanted to do, or want to do more times than not, because of Zack Wheeler's consistency and ability to be this high-level pitcher since joining the team. And so it's not really news. I think we all kind of expected 2027 to be the end. But the news, I guess now, because it's kind of formalized, if you will, is what's going to happen with other starters. Really, to me, what the story of this non-story is does it change anything with Ranger Suarez, and does it change anything with Mick Abel? And those two questions, I think, are way more prominent than, like, oh my goodness, Zack Wheeler's retiring in 2027. So the question, I think, really dictates more Mick Abel's tenure than it does Ranger Suarez's tenure. Because I think with Ranger Suarez, I've said this for a while, it feels like a foregone conclusion that this is Ranger Suarez's final year. And the unfortunate scenario is not unfortunate that he's been as good as he has, because Ranger Suarez has been unbelievably good. But I think the unfortunate scenario is that the Phillies are going to lose Ranger Suarez in free agency because of the money that they have committed to other players, because of the money that they have tied up. I don't want to say specifically in, but maybe large portion because of that they have tied up in Aaron Nola. And I understand money's coming off the books. Maybe Dave Dombrowski does say, hey, we can't afford to lose Ranger Suarez, but I do think this feels like a team, fill in the blank, who's really desperate for starting pitching, aka a team that we're going to talk about in just a little bit. Maybe the Boston Red Sox overpay for a starter because they're in desperate need of starting pitching. Maybe those types of teams emerge and then say, hey, Ranger Suarez is going to make a lot more money than the Phillies are willing to pay. And that's the unfortunate nature of this industry. But I think the more important piece is, does it change the outlook on Mick Abel? Because Mick Abel now is making his fourth start tonight. By the time the All-Star break rolls around, which is where I expected Aaron Nola to maybe make a return, you're thinking about probably closer to 8 or 9 starts. Now the report is he might be out for up to 8 weeks or 2 months. Now you're, instead of talking about 8 or 9 starts, you're talking about maybe 12 or 13 starts. I'm not so sure the Phillies are going to be readily willing to move on from Mick Abel, at least not this year. So when you're talking about trade pieces and things like that, Mick Abel's name may come off the table, not necessarily because of the fact that Zack Wheeler said he's going to retire, but more because of Aaron Nola's long-term injury now, where they said it could be 2 months. All of these things start to play into consideration. I'm not so sure the Phillies are willing to move on from Mick Abel unless it nets them, as we've talked about in the past, unless it nets them a bona fide starting outfielder. And I'm not talking about a platoon piece. I'm talking about an everyday guy or a true legit closer. And I'm not so sure those two pieces are readily available just yet. I do question, and again, somebody that we're going to talk about in the future, or in the later segments. Now, let me preface this by saying the Phillies were not in on the Rafael Devers sweepstakes. But looking at what Rafael Devers was acquired for, I would just, like the barroom think piece conversation, I would be interested to see if the Phillies were to have called up. And they're not going to. I don't think they did. Don't take this out of context. The Phillies weren't in on that conversation. They have a designated hitter in Kyle Schwarber, and Rafi Devers can't play third base. He stinks at. And I understand that that's where he wants to play. He can't do it. More on that later. But I would be curious in just a barroom setting what a return for that trade would look like. Just out of curiosity. But anyway, I think the Zack Wheeler news is not news per se. It's just now out there in the national spotlight. I think the Zack Wheeler news, quote unquote, is more dictated on what do the Phillies do with Ranger Suarez and what do they do with Mick Abel, more so than anything to do with Zack Wheeler, because I think we all kind of expected this. All right, before we pause, I want to welcome our second member of today's show. That's Andrew Frazier, who's producing today's show. Andrew, not news, right, per se, that Wheeler's set to thinking about retirement after 2027. I think we all kind of expected it. But I am kind of intrigued that it's picked up national attention this weekend. Because I guess maybe outside of Philadelphia, people weren't expecting to hear that. But I think we all kind of thought that that was about the timeline.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we all kind of expected that here in Philadelphia. And I don't know, he's so good. And like you were saying earlier, he's like a fine wine. He keeps getting better each year. So I guess it is kind of shocking news on a national level to hear about Zack Wheeler going to be retiring in 2 years. When you see like Clayton Kershaw, you see like guys who are older who are still doing it. Like why couldn't he be in that type of role? So yeah, I can understand. I just don't know what the significance to the whole like why now? Why is this coming out
Sure.
now for a national?
I really just think it might have hit a national attention, like, and it blew up, right? Because like you just said, and like we were just talking about, he signed a 3-year deal intentionally.
Mhm.
Like this wasn't because if Zack Wheeler was 30 or 32, even I could have seen him sign an 8-year deal.
Yeah.
Right. Or a 6-year deal. Right. Like Max Fried, much younger, got an 8-year deal with the Yankees. If Zack Wheeler was 30, he probably would have gotten an 8-year deal. But at 30, what was he, 34 when they signed this, when this extension kicked in?
I believe so.
You're talking about 34, 35, 36 into 37, I believe. And he's been pretty honest and open about he wants to spend time with his kids. He wants to be a dad. Like he just became a dad for the third time? Or the fourth time, whatever it was. Like,
yeah.
I don't blame the guy for wanting to be a dad and wanting to be.
No.
He's made his money. He's made his mark. And he's made an indelible mark on the Phillies because the pitcher that they got and the pitcher that's going to walk away are two vastly different pitchers.
Oh,
and the one that's going to walk away is a borderline Hall of Famer. And the one that they got was pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, no doubt. Without a doubt. I mean, when he came here at the first time, coming from the Mets, I mean, we didn't expect this Zack Wheeler.
No.
And then, each year of playoffs, I mean, he has been such a consistent pitcher for us and continues to be that guy, constantly. You can always rely on Zack Wheeler.
All right. So, again, I think that this news to me feels a little more Abel Ranger driven. Does it change your opinion on Ranger at all? Because it doesn't change my opinion on Ranger. But I do think the Phillies are going to hold Abel pretty close to the chest this trade deadline.
Yeah, it's interesting conversation because like obviously the Ranger contract is up this year, after this year, and like what are they going to do? And they have all these guys, all these starters, and yeah, you have Painter, you have Abel. Like what are their roles going to be after this season? It is an interesting conversation. The only thing, like the thing that bothers me is. You could obviously say that Ranger, especially looking at this year and, of course, last year before the back thing happened, is probably their number 2 pitcher.
If the season ended right now and the postseason began, I would have a hard time not giving Ranger Suarez game 2 of a postseason series.
Same.
He's been, after that first start against the Diamondbacks, he has been excellent.
Yes.
It's got a 2.3 something ERA with that start included. Like you take that out, it's like 1.6 or 1.7.
Definitely.
He's been so good against every team that he's faced, not named Arizona, that first start.
Sure.
I think I would have a hard time if the season ended right now. Wheeler starts game 1, no questions asked. I think that there's a very realistic chance that you could turn to Ranger in game 2. Now, it's a great problem to have where you say, hey, sorry, Christopher Sanchez, or hey, sorry, Jesus Luzardo, you're not starting until 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
That's how good this rotation is when it's at its peak. But Ranger has been constantly consistent and excellent since that Diamondback start.
Oh, of course. And yeah, so it's going to be really hard for them. I would not like to shop him. I don't want to shop him at trade deadline. I know that some people have been talking about that being a possibility. I think that would be foolish. Just because we don't know what Aaron Nola is right now. We don't even know if he's going to come back with this injury. We have no idea.
Yeah, it's been a weird – we talked about that on Friday. It's been a weird trajectory of injuries for Aaron Nola.
Yeah. And, so that'd be the piece that I would say, I wouldn't want to get rid of Ranger quite yet. Wait until the offseason and see what happens. But, yeah, I mean, really the only black mark on Ranger is the injury. That he constantly – I feel like every – season so far he has had an injury that's kept him out for an extended amount of time.
Oh yeah, that's factual.
But like I mean, other than that, when he's here, he plays and he's great. So yeah, to go back to what you were saying about Zack Wheeler and does that change? I think so because like if saying that he is our like solid number 2 and that you would give him game 2 in the playoff series, I wouldn't want to get rid of him. And if you know that there is now a timetable with Zack Wheeler. And that he's going to be, a 2-year guy here and then probably retire. Ranger's young, and if he can stay healthy, I wouldn't want to get rid of him.
Again, I think you're going to end up losing him in free agency, and
I
in
think
part,
so too.
like it's just going to be fodder that the Phillies fans and we talk about is you're going to say, hey, could you have given that type of money to Ranger Suarez that you gave to Aaron Nolan?
Yeah.
It's going to exist. I think the two conversations can exist in different planes, but I understand that like the fan base is going to say, if Ranger Suarez walks for, let's say, $25 million a year and Aaron Nola's making $28 million, I get that that conversation's going to exist.
Yeah, it's going to come down in the offseason to like who's going to stay. Is it going to be Luzardo or is it going to be Ranger? And I feel like Luzardo is probably going to be the one because you can probably get him just a little bit cheaper than what Ranger
and the good thing with Luzardo is you don't have to make that decision right now.
Exactly.
He still has the final year of arbitration, so I think they'll have some time to figure it out. But again, it's a good problem to have.
Oh, it's a great problem.
We'll cross that bridge when we get there, but right now it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, just throw one of them in the bullpen. You'll be fine. He'll be one of your long guys.
Didn't somebody say something ridiculous on sports radio today about that?
Oh, like Zack Wheeler? Yeah.
Okay, you're not going to hear that talk.
Yeah, we'll waste his last 2 years in the bullpen. That's great. Good idea.
Unbelievable. All right, we're late to a break. Let's pause for just a second. On the other side, we'll get to our Ace Hardware temp check. We'll talk about the big deal that's brought to us by our friends at Cherry Hill Jeep. And, of course, we'll wrap up today's show with some fun. And we'll end. I know Andrew's checking in on the donations for our Big Brothers Big Sisters fundraiser. But let's pause for just a moment and tell you about some of our friends here on the PHLY Phillies podcast. All right, let's start with our friends over at Art of Words. They say a picture's worth 1,000 words, and one local artist has proven that for over a decade now. Each piece by Art of Words is made entirely from handwritten words, so you can think about every Eagle ever that forms the design of the link, or every Philly ever that forms the design of Citizens Bank Park. But if you're not just looking for sports, but you want something cool, it's Philly. It's uniquely Philly. You can have Boathouse Row, Reading Terminal, the Philly skyline, the Jersey Shore, and so much more. They're unforgettable gifts. I know Father's Day just passed, but if you haven't gotten your dad or the dad in your life a gift, these are awesome, incredible late Father's Day gifts. Grad season still in full swing. Or if you're just looking for a gift for the sports fan of your life, these are incredible, unique. It's something different too, and it generates a conversation because you see a name and then another name and then another name, and then you go down the rabbit hole of who can name the most obscure Philly ever, and you play that game for a long period of time. And Art of Words, listen, they started locally, started in the K-Lot, started at Rice's Flea Market, and Art of Words credits Philly fans with launching his career. So they're incredible conversation starters that you don't want to miss out on. Check it out on at artofwords.com. Once again, that's artofwords.com. And use the code PHLY at checkout for 15% off of your purchase. Ace Hardware. Coming up in just a minute, our Ace Hardware Home Services temp check. But let me tell you about our friends over at Ace Hardware. Whether you've got plumbing, electric, heating, cooling, if your air conditioner's not working, it's going to get hot this week and into the weekend. I saw some high 90s coming up. You want to get on that right away so you're not sweating it out when the summer months eventually get here. It is June, right? I'm just making sure it is June, but the heat is coming, so get your AC or your heating fixed for the fall and winter coming up. Whatever it is, they bring the helpful hardware home. It's the helpful hardware folks that you love in the store, now right to your front door from Philly all the way to the Jersey Shore. So visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project. All right, welcome back to the PHLY Phillies podcast. Tyler Zula here with you, Andrew Frazier as well. Andrew, I do have to ask you, because I say that in jest.
Yes.
That I don't mean to throw anybody under the bus. The job of sports talk host is a difficult one.
Sure.
Can I ask, was that prompted by a caller or was it prompted by a host?
It was prompted by a host.
Oh,
it was a fill-in host for a very early morning show today. I'm not going to say names or what station or what it may have been on, but it was a fill-in host for a very
most 99.9% of the time, I've done that job. I did it for 6 years. Sometimes you need content. You just need I get it, right? This is an hour. This is way easier to do.
That might be a reach.
Than a 4-hour segment. Sometimes you need content. That I usually say, what's the context, right?
Yeah.
Because again, I've done it. Like sometimes I've said things on the air before and people go, that's a bad take, right? And it's like, all right, well, hold on. What's the context to that take? And sometimes you can even say this is barroom fodder, right? This is when you're sitting with your buddies drinking a beer and you play would you trade this player for this player? I know that exists. I've done that segment before. I don't even want to give credence to this conversation because I don't know how it happened or how it existed, but I'm not even, other than I have to know how did it come up, I'm not asking any more questions.
Yeah, we don't have to entertain it at all. It's just, it was a silly thing that was said this morning. Real quick though, Tyler, I just want to give a couple shout outs here.
Yeah.
To Futz, to K-Red, to Molly and Barkley's Life. Thank you so much for donating to the Big Brothers, Big Sisters.
Thank you so much. And your donation, by the way, if you're interested, you are able to give us your AMA question throughout the show. So if you have one and you did donate to those that did, thank you so much. Please feel free to drop that question down in the chat. We will answer it. And Andrew, you're getting some love for your flow today.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Got a couple of people. I think it was K-Red that said Andrew doesn't get enough credit for his hair.
Yeah.
Ray Schumacher said you look like a combination between Miles Teller and Robert De Niro.
I'll take that. That's a good combo.
You know what? Actually, that's not a bad pull.
Yeah,
that's actually. You kind of do have a little De Niro Teller mix look going on because
that's funny.
The glasses give you a little bit of. And I'm going to say this, I mean this in a positive way, give you a little bit of age in the sense of like wisdom. Yeah. And then you got the Miles Teller flow going on.
Yeah.
I see it.
Yeah. I appreciate it, guys. That's very nice to hear or read. Also, I wanted to just jump back in real quick with the donations.
Yes.
Just a quick disclaimer about that. YouTube does not take any of this money at all.
We're also not taking any
We
of this
do not
money.
take any of this money. 100% of the proceeds that are going to the donation, the foundation, is going all to Big Brothers, Big Sisters. So, don't think that anyone's like skimming from the top here.
Right.
It's all going right to them.
So appreciate it. Early returns have been nice. Hey, everybody so far, thank you. Listen, I understand times are hard. I am never going to say, give us money. If you have the means, we are extremely appreciative. We've raised almost $400 in the first couple hours of PHLY so far. And I know Wednesday is going to be our big push. And it's not just here at PHLY too. So it's all city. So obviously we're on the East Coast and we're the only shows on the East Coast. So we're the first. Chicago's getting involved. Phoenix is getting involved. Denver's getting involved. Dallas is getting involved. Can't thank you all enough for this week long and the contributions to this week long event. So, all right, let's get to our big deal segment here on the PHLY Phillies podcast. I alluded to it early. This is the big deal segment brought to you by our friends over at Cherry Hill Jeep. If you're looking for a Jeep or Ram truck, there's only one dealership in South Jersey who's been on the market and the market leader since 1967. Stop in today. You can get across from any really one of the bridges into Jersey, or you can head on over to cherryhilljeep.com. You can tell them the PHLY sent you, and you'll receive an extra $1,000 on your trade-in bonus. All right, the big deal doesn't involve the Phillies today, but it is the big deal across Major League Baseball, and we have to talk about it. It is the Red Sox sending third baseman DH Rafael Devers to the San Francisco Giants, for Jordan Hicks, Kyle Harrison, and 2 prospects. And I am going to tell you this right now. I don't know much about the prospects. I did a dive on one of them. The name was familiar enough going through old draft stuff, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I was locked into the Richmond Flying Squirrels or whomever that the Giants prospects were playing for. I wasn't. I'm not even going to pretend like I was. I can tell you about Kyle Harrison. I can tell you about Jordan Hicks, and I can certainly tell you about the player that Rafael Devers is. I'm going to start with this. I understand the want and maybe almost the need for the Red Sox to trade Rafael Devers. It has become a poisonous relationship. That relationship had become toxic. It had run its course. And I know that the player and the ownership group were not on speaking terms, almost. I shouldn't say we're not on speaking terms. We're not eye to eye, and it felt like it was very contentious. So, little backstory that for those that may not know. Rafael Devers has been a third baseman for the Red Sox for quite some time. Devers was disgruntled when the Red Sox signed Alex Bregman and asked Devers to move positions. Bregman is a Gold Glove winning third baseman. Devers is one of the worst defensive third basemen in baseball by most metrics. They asked him to go play second. He basically told them to kick rocks. He told them, I signed to be a third baseman. I'm going to be a third baseman. And they said, yeah, we'll see about that. So then Tristan Casas gets hurt, the Red Sox first baseman, and they said, hey, would you consider playing first base? And he said, kick rocks. So he finally decided he was going to be a DH. And I talked about this on the morning show with John Marks today. I understand the mindset is different as a DH as opposed to being a position player. You have to stay active as a DH and while the team is in the field in between your at-bats. But Rafael Devers is a terrible defensive third baseman. And so, with that being said, Devers really is a full-time DH at this point. And Devers signed I believe a $300 million deal a few years ago. He has 8 years left on his contract. It was $313 million to be exact. He has eight years left on that $313 million deal. The San Francisco Giants are now going to pay all of Rafael Devers' remaining salary on this contract. What they got in exchange, I think, was in part, what the Red Sox got in exchange was in part because the Red Sox because of the Giants are going to take on all of the remainder of the money. They got Jordan Hicks, they got Kyle Harrison, and they got 2 prospects. I'm going to start with Jordan Hicks because I don't need to talk too much about Hicks so far this year. His ERA speaks for itself. He has a 6 ERA this season. Jordan Hicks should never have become a starter. I understand starters get paid more. I understand nobody wants to be a reliever if you have the starter option available. Jordan Hicks is a flamethrower who I believe is best suited for a back end of the bullpen role. He was a closer with the Cardinals. He wanted to start. There were reports that the Phillies offered him a contract the year he was a free agent, but it was to be a reliever. And he said, nah, I want to be a starter. And the Giants said, sure, come be a starter for us. Jordan Hicks shouldn't be a starter. Jordan Hicks does not have, I don't believe, possesses the stamina and the arm, the length to be a starter as, can you throw 90 pitches consistently? He can do it, but I wouldn't want him on the mound for 90 or 95 pitches. I want Jordan Hicks throwing 20 pitches as hard as he possibly can every other night, as opposed to every 5th night throwing 90, 95 pitches. I don't think Jordan Hicks is a viable starter. The Giants thought so, and I would imagine he might slide into the rotation for the Red Sox, but I just think that that's a nothing move for me. The 2 pieces that I think are the selling point of this trade, we'll start with the major leaguer in Kyle Harrison. He gives up a lot of hard contact. He's got good stuff. He's only 23. I think that the Red Sox will be able to mold him and work with him as his career progresses. But he gives up a lot of hard contact, and he's in the 2nd percentile in average exit velocity this season after finishing last year in the 6th percentile. Now, he's got good swing and miss stuff, but his consistency hasn't been there just yet. His velo now has increased. So last year he was throwing about 93 and a half. This year he's up to 95. But it's kind of telling, is it not, that for one of the major leaguers that they acquired, the Red Sox are optioning him to AAA. So he's not going to be with the Red Sox major league team. He's going down to AAA. So you acquired a flamethrower who's got, there you go, Ray Schumacher puts the numbers up, 6.47 ERA, and a guy who has good stuff but is inconsistent. You've sent him down to AAA. And the third guy that I want to mention is James Tibbs, who becomes the Red Sox 6th ranked prospect. He has a 55 power tool, a 55 hit tool. The guy can hit. There's no doubt about it. Right now, he's hitting 256 in high A, but 12 of his 51 hits so far this year are home runs. The pop is there. I think he's going to be a legit power hitter. Not a great athlete from the reports. Again, I'm reading off of prompts. I'm reading off of prospect reports. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I watched his games. I think he was with Greensboro before the trade. I'm not going to pretend like I've watched a ton of his games. In fact, I'm not going to pretend like I watched any of his games. But the report is average athlete, fielding's fine, good arm, power bat is what's the selling point. But he's in single A. So you're telling me the return on investment were 2 prospects, one of which might pan out, and Jordan Hicks and Kyle Harrison for 8 years of a legit bona fide slugger in Rafi Devers? Seems light to me. So I texted a friend of mine who is born and raised in the Connecticut area, but Boston fan through and through, Red Sox fan through and through. And I texted him and I just said, what? And he said, surprising, but not unexpected. And I said, I'm just stunned the return they got. Feels light. And here was his response. Could be a few different things, but here's my take so far. Incredibly messy behind the scenes, and they needed to get him out ASAP. So messy, they decided it's not worth paying him over $300 million. Trade value for a $300 million DH is not going to be very high. So basically, the return was the money back. Said his hope was in them shedding the big contracts. Then he gave me the laughing emoji as hope that maybe they sell the team. But I think the thought is maybe they'll be buyers next free agency. And the next free agent pool includes Kyle Tucker. It includes potentially Pete Alonso. There's some names out there that the Red Sox could go after. But those are maybes. Those are what ifs. Those are, can we court you and do you want to come play for us? It takes two to tango in the free agent market. Rafael Devers is under contract for 8 years. An elephant in the room asks a fair question. Would he still be a slugger is it still Oracle Park? I thought the same thing. The answer to that question, elephant in the room, is yes, he would. Because I asked the exact same question, and McCovey Cove is going to be kind to him. Now, will he go into the power alley, that deep alley in right center field? Possible. Will it be more flyouts in that spot? Also possible. But the spray chart that I looked at was very kind to Rafael Devers, and I'm going to try to do this on the air really quickly. I think the numbers were fairly good home run wise if he would have played in San Francisco. So yeah, last year he hit 25 home runs, or would have he hit 28 home runs, excuse me. If he played every game and hit every ball that he hit out of the yard at Fenway, he would have had 25. At Oracle, he would have had 28. The year he hit 43, he would have had 42 in Oracle. Still a very, very good player. So there may be some balls that he hits in the right center field gap that get tracked down that might have been home runs in certain places. But yeah, the power numbers aren't going to fall off too much. But it was an interesting point because effectively this thing has been sapped so far. This relationship has been sapped so far that the Red Sox felt like we're going to move off this contract, get what we can, and reevaluate next offseason. Do I expect the Red Sox to be sellers? I don't think they're going to be like hard sellers in the sense like they're not moving away from some of their big time. Like they just acquired Garrett Crochet. Like they're not moving Crochet type of thing. But I do think they'll trade Aroldis Chapman. I do think they might take a look at some of their pieces that they, expiring contracts and stuff like that and start to move those guys and reevaluate in the 2026 offseason. The last thing that I wanted to bring up, because as we talked about with the conversation will always be pairing Aaron Nola's contract and Ranger Suarez potential contract. The Rafael Devers trade talks will never not be compared side by side to the Mookie Betts trade talks. And there was a diagram of Rafael Devers and Mookie Betts and what the Red Sox got in exchange for those two players. Mookie Betts is a generational player. Rafael Devers is a really, really, really good player. Oh, and Chris Sale was in the mix. Here is what the Red Sox got in exchange for those three players. Jeter Downs, Alex Verdugo, Connor Wong, Vaughn Grisham, Kyle Harrison, Jordan Hicks, James Tibbs, Jose Bayo. 8 players. Jeter Downs had been DFA'd. Again, I don't know if he's even on a professional roster. The Red Sox flipped Alex Verdugo for three prospects who I don't know much about the three, but I believe Richard Fitz was the selling point. He's now with the team. He's got a 4.7 or has been with the team, has a 4.7 ERA this year. Chris Sale got moved for Vaughn Grisham. Chris Sale won the Cy Young last year. Now, I don't think Chris Sale was going to win the Cy Young for the Red Sox, or at least I didn't feel like he was heading into the season. But they got Vaughn Grisham for him, who stinks. And these four guys, if I were a Red Sox fan, I'd be pretty pissed off. I know that there was tangible and maybe irreparable differences between the Red Sox and Rafael Devers. I'd be pretty pissed off if I were a Red Sox fan today. All right, that's enough about the Red Sox. I know that was a lot of conversation not regarding the Phillies, but I think it's the biggest news in baseball right now. We had to talk about it. That was our big deal segment brought to you by our friends over at Cherry Hill Jeep. Again, cherryhilljeep.com, or head on over any of the bridges and you can get in and get $1,000 more on your trade-in value if you tell them that PHLY sent you. All right, we're going to pause. I have some comments to reflect on in just a second. On the other side, we'll get to our Ace Hardware temp check and wrap up with some fun as well. It's the PHLY Phillies podcast, and let me tell you about some of our friends here at PHLY. All right, let's start with our presenting sponsor, Bet365, because whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365, and 90 million users have live streamed 780,000 events worldwide each year. You can get in on all of the in-game betting, which they've helped pioneer, and you can get in on the early payout action as the championships in both the NBA and the NHL unfold. If your team's up by 20 at any point on your NBA bet, your bets will be marked. Your straight bets marked as winners, and your parlays will get that selection marked off as well. Same thing in the NHL. If your team goes up by 3 goals at any point, you can win that as well. And breaking news from Bet365, new customers get $150 back in bonus bets when they bet just $5. Deposit $10. Well, first off, use the promo code PHLY365. Deposit $10, bet $5, and get $150 back in bonus bets, whether you win or you lose. Bonus bets can be used on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and so much more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 and physically located in PA. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, GLAT hair restoration. Johnny Marks has been telling you about GLAT for years now, and he's walking evidence, right? You can just look at the hairline, before and after pictures that he's posted. John's hair looks great, and it's thanks in large part to our friends over at GLAT Hair Restoration. And now listen, if you're thinking about maybe going overseas to save a buck, think again. You want the local team with 30 years of experience. They are board-certified surgeons that have U.S. safety standards and deliver results that actually matter. You want GLAT Hair Restoration by Morganstern Medical. And the best part, they're located right with our friends. Our friends are located right in Bala Cynwyd, so you don't have to go very far. It's just right off 676 or 76. You can get there in less than a half an hour in certain instances. But no matter where you're coming from, GLAT Hair Restoration is the team that you want to get in with to think about your hair restoration process, because they're going to be with you from start to finish, and they give you a customized one-of-one treatment. And it may not be hair restoration right away. It may be some non-invasive treatments and things like that to just help defend your hairline. And the best part is you can text them a photo right now, and they're going to walk you through that process from your initial consultation all the way through your follow-up visits and things like that, and your check-ins to make sure your hairline is looking as great as it possibly can. Text your photo or call 610-980-4000 or visit them at glathairmm.com. Once again, that's GLAT Hair by Morganstern Medical. Let's get your hairline back in the game. All right. Hello to everybody in the chat. K-Red, Elephant in the Room, Ray Schumacher, Molly and Barkley's Life, Mopar, Filthy McNasty, Barbara Carroll, everybody that's been in the chat so far. If I did not mention your name, thanks so much for being here with us. We have a couple of chats we need to answer. Huh?
We have 2 AMAs. Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Let me pull them up. I'll do the first one here from Futz.
Were you ever asked to take a bad take to farm engagement? Do you remember what you were supposed to defend? No, I was not. It's a great question. No, I was not asked to take a bad take just to farm engagement. I think I've been pretty good about my takes being genuine. I've had bad takes before. I've had like cold takes, exposed takes before. So like, for example, one of the worst takes I ever had, and maybe it's circled, maybe life has come back a little bit, but The Phillies don't need the player now that I said they should get. But one of the worst takes I ever had at the time was that the Phillies should not go after Trey Turner. And the reason I said they should not go after Trey Turner was that they should allocate the money to starting pitching. Because at the time, Ranger was good, but not great. Christopher Sanchez wasn't the Christopher Sanchez we know. They had not traded for Jesus Luzardo at the time. The Phillies still needed starting pitching help. Because I think it was the year after the World Series they signed Trey Turner. Because this is Turner's third full season as a Philly.
World Baseball Classic, yes.
Right?
Yeah, it was
so the Phillies
yeah.
starters that year, they had Kyle Gibson. They had Noah Syndergaard. Chris Sanchez was only like allowed to go once through the lineup.
Yes.
So I will say that was probably what ended up being one of my worst takes was I said the Phillies should not sign Trey Turner. Instead, they should sign Carlos Rodon. And I said they should allocate the money to Carlos Rodon, who is having a really freaking good year this year, but was dreadfully bad last season. Now, injuries and stuff played a part. Or was it his first year? I forget which year it was. But whatever his first year with the Yankees, I said Carlos Rodon was the guy that the Phillies should sign. And it was his first year, excuse me. 6.85 ERA over 14 starts.
Oof.
Yeah, not good. Last year, much better, 3.9. This year, even better, 3.01. And 107 strikeouts over 89 innings pitched. But my justification was you just came off a World Series run where you were throwing out openers, and Noah Syndergaard, I believe, started Game 4 of the World Series.
Yeah, yes.
Like, it would have been really critical to have a fourth starter that you trusted. And you were thinking about, like, Kyle Gibson was making starts. Noah Syndergaard made starts. As I said, they really didn't trust Chris Sanchez the next year just yet. Ranger Suarez was in the bullpen role, started some, like, he was their Swiss Army knife, but they needed another starter at the time. And now they ended up getting excellence from Christopher Sanchez, and Ranger Suarez has been really good as well. But that may have been one of my freezing cold takes, especially the first year, was they should have not signed Trey Turner. They should have signed Carlos Rodon. But no, to answer your question, really good question. I was never asked specifically to come up with bad takes to farm engagement. I can do that on my own. I can come up with bad takes on my own.
And in your defense, that wasn't a bad take if we're comparing it to the one that we were just previously talking about earlier.
Right.
That is a bad take.
So to answer your question, no, nobody ever came up to me and was like, hey, talk about why, your take should be Joel Embiid sucks.
Yeah.
Or your take should be the Phillies should trade Bryce Harper. Like, nobody ever forced me to have a take.
Yeah.
If I had a bad take, it was inherently my bad take. And if I had a good take, it was inherently my good take. I think I've had both over the years. I've always said, Andrew, I think takes, it's kind of like playing poker or being at the casino. Mm-hmm. If I hit on 60% of my takes, that's a win for me.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
Because we come on the air every day and say stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm bound to get stuff wrong.
Yeah, of course.
We're
humans too,
Right. Like, I'm bound to get stuff wrong. So I think if I can get 60% of my takes be good takes, that's a win for me. All right, next question.
Yeah, from K Red. Can either of you skate, ice, roller, whatever?
Can I skate? Yes. Am I good at it? No. I learned how to skate at like 24 years old.
Oh, wow.
The first time I ever went ice skating, like, I've rollerbladed before. Like, we used to go to the roller rink as kids.
Sure.
And, skate around in circles while music was playing.
Yeah.
But I learned how to ice skate at like 24, 25. My wife said, hey, let's go ice skating. And at the time, like, we had been together a couple years, but I didn't have the heart to tell her that I'd never gone before.
Yeah.
So we got on the ice and I looked like a baby giraffe trying to like be on the ice. But yeah, the first time I ever ice skated, I was like 24 or 25. So can I? Yes. Am I good at it? No.
Yeah.
Like, am I going to make a fool of myself? No, I can get around the rink. But like, I can't skate backwards. Don't ask me to like speed skate.
Okay.
Because I can't really stop.
Yeah.
I kind of like, have you ever skied, Andrew?
Yes.
You know how when you ski, you do like the pizza French fry thing?
Of course.
I can kind of pizza French fry my way to a stop.
Sure. Yeah.
But I can't do like the hard cut stop.
You can't do the slide, the stop? Oh, okay.
How about you?
I mean, I feel silly talking about skateboarding sitting next to Joey because like we got a professional right here. So I'm not going to say I can skateboard. I used to play roller hockey when I was like back in my younger ages, so I knew how to rollerblade pretty well. And yeah, ice skate. I can ice skate. I don't do it often, but
Sure.
it's like a weird like talent that I have that
Yeah,
I'm
like
like
I
kind of
like
good
to.
at.
I enjoy ice skating once a winter.
Yeah.
Like I enjoy it. Like we'll, like I said, I don't know if we'll do it now with the baby. Maybe we'll get him involved once he's little like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Get him on the ice early. But it was something that my wife and I would do like once a year.
Yeah.
It's the cutesy, go hold hands.
Of course. Yeah.
Get
It's
hot
fun.
chocolate afterwards
Yeah.
type of date. But yeah, I didn't learn how to skate till I was in like my mid-20s.
Yeah. Now I can't play like ice hockey. I'm not that good, but like I can stop, go fast. I can kind of do it.
Okay. Yeah, so you're better than me.
We'll see.
Yeah,
Maybe we should go out one time when it gets cold again.
Yeah.
We'll see.
PHLY.
I'm not gonna say I'm better.
PHLY skating event.
Yeah, the skate
It'll
off.
be Bill doing laps around us.
Oh, he would. Yeah,
and the
he
rest
would kick
of us
our
looking like a
butts.
bunch of morons.
Yeah.
All right, we have. You still have time. Thank you again to all of you for those donations. Thank you so much. And yes, you still have time to get your AMA questions in if you do have that donation. And again, I'm not asking for it, but that's just giving you a perk. All right, let's get into our Ace Hardware temp check segment as we are very, very late. You know what? In fact, Andrew, before we do Ace Hardware, let's hit our final set of ad reads just so we can catch up on that. We're gonna pause for just a second. On the other side, we'll get to our Ace Hardware temp check and wrap up today's show. It is the PHLY Phillies podcast right here on PHLY, brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. All right, let's start with our friends over at Empire today, because sometimes you need the home court or home field advantage, home ice advantage, if you're thinking about skating, and sometimes you need the home flooring advantage. You ever go to a big box store looking for flooring and you just wander the aisles and maybe you find what you're looking for, maybe you don't, maybe you get help, maybe you don't, but you end up hauling everything by yourself to your house, and maybe your car isn't quite exactly the size that you need it for all the equipment that you're going to haul. That's why you just get on over to Empire today, because they are the trusted pros that are going to walk you through every step of the process, from your initial at-home visit to figuring out what flooring works best for you, all the way through the process of buying it. They're going to work with you every step of the way, and they are the pros when it comes to flooring. They live and breathe flooring, and they are going to bring the showroom right to your front door. So they're going to show you what flooring is right for you, whether it's hardwood, tile, carpet, whatever it might be. They're going to show you what's right for you with your space and your furniture right in your house. They're going to take precise measurements and have all of your questions answered by a pro. And of course, the best part is you're going to get upfront, clear, and all-inclusive pricing, so you can schedule your in-home estimate and schedule installation with confidence as soon as tomorrow. Schedule a free in-home estimate today, because some things are just better at home. And PHLY listeners can get up to $350 back when they use the promo code PHLY. Restrictions do apply. Visit empiretoday.com/PHLY for full details. All right, let's tell you about my local casino of choice, Bet Parks and Parks Casino. And listen, whether you're local or not, Parks Casino is an amazing time. Just off the all exits of Street Road, whether it be the Turnpike or 95, you can get there in minutes or less than an hour. For myself, 2 minutes, maybe for you, a little bit more time, but it is a easy get to. And they have some of the best entertainment, from playing the live slots and live casino games, live table games with live dealers, and live entertainment, whether it be music or boxing and MMA, comedy, right at the Excite Center. It is an incredible night out. If you're thinking about a date night or a day out with your friends, or thinking about whatever the case may be. Maybe you want to treat your parents to a night out. Whatever it is, the Excite Center has you covered for incredible acts. And it is an intimate setting with large-scale feel. It's a 1,000-seat arena. But you're going to feel like you are in a much larger scale show, because the production value is unbelievable. The seats are great. There's no bad seat in the house. And before the show, head on over to one of the incredible places you can grab a bite to eat or a drink, like the Gastropub, the Beer Garden, Bamboo Noodle House. I can't recommend Bamboo Noodle House enough. It's so good. It is a night out on the town that you are not going to forget. Head on over to Parks Casino and Parks Casino Online to get all the information for all of the latest shows. Parks Casino, this is how you win. You must be 21 and over. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Yeah, appreciate that, Futz. Thank you for not making me do that. You're a gem.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, let's get into our Ace Hardware temp check as we check in, of course, on which Philly's heating up or cooling down. Brought to you by our friends over at Ace Hardware Home Services, where they bring the helpful hardware folks to your front door now as the helpful hardware home service team. We're going to check in on a Philly that's been heating up over the last month or so, and that Philly is Orion Kerkering. The last month or so, Kerkering's numbers have been excellent. In fact, he's not given up an earned run since May 6th. 15 outings, he's not given up an earned run, and that's 13 and a third innings. He entered May with a 5.56 ERA. He left May with a 3.32 ERA, and he's down to 2.67. So April, he had a 1.66 whip where he gave up 16 base runners in less than 10 innings pitched. That whip is down to 1.3. In terms of earned run average and in terms of stability, especially when Orion Kerkering has a clean inning to start with, he has been really, really good out of the bullpen over the last month or so. Now, I will say this. I think the walks are still too high. He has issued too many walks this year. This year, he's walked 16 guys in 27 and a third innings pitched. Last year, he had 17 walks. So he's just one shy of last year's total, but it was over 63 innings pitched. Part of the big reason why I think is because early in the year, he wasn't throwing enough strike one. And then later in the year, I think he was just, we've talked about the sweeper, that he was trying to burn off the outer edge to righties, that he just wasn't getting a ton of swing and miss on. And so I think he wasn't getting a lot of swing and miss. His chase rates are down. His whiff rates are down compared to last year because guys were kind of just sitting on that sweeper and waiting for him to come back into the zone. Now that he's up over 60% first pitch strike, he's now starting to get a little bit more chase, a little bit more whiff. The number is not nearly as much as it was over the first two seasons, but it's better than it was in the first month of April. So I think that is due in part as to why his ERA has come down significantly. Ray Schumacher brings up the second part, inherited runners. It feels like Orion Kerkering's numbers are not very good against with inherited runners. I will say this. I think over the last couple of weeks, he's been much better. Since the beginning of May, his numbers have gone in the right direction. In fact, just 2 weeks ago, Orion Kerkering had allowed the fifth most inherited runners to score. Today, he's tied for 12th. So he's going in the right direction. He's down to 38%, which admittedly is still a number that's too high, but I think it's trending in the right direction for him over the last couple of weeks. Kerkering's been asked to take on a huge role over the last couple of weeks, especially after Jose Alvarado was suspended for 80 games. He has been tasked with the 11th most inherited runners this season at 21. He's allowed 8 of them to score. So when you think 38%, maybe it feels high. When you are watching game to game, maybe you feel like that number is higher than you expected. But the 21 is a lot of inherited runners that he's faced, and he's given up 8 inherited runs, and most of them happened in April and early May. He's been much better against inherited runners in the latter portions of May and into the month of June. So he's seen a lot of inherited runners. He's also been tasked with 20 appearances that have been deemed high leverage. Only 6 relievers have more outings than Orion Kerkering does this year. 4 of those 6 relievers are closers. It includes Aroldis Chapman, Andres Munoz, Ryan Walker, and then one of the best setup men in all of baseball who could be a closer for a bunch of different teams in Griffin Jax. He's also entered the game tied 9 times this year, which is tied for the 10th most of any reliever in all of baseball. So yes, it feels like if you just eyeball test, he gives up a lot of inherited runners. Maybe you feel like that's the case, but he's been way better in May and in June, and his numbers are getting better and better and better as he goes into the month of June and into the summer. All right, before we continue, just want to say thank you to everybody who is watching on our streaming platforms, whether it be Roku or Samsung. Head on over to allphly.com to watch the rest of the show because it is officially time for overtime. All right, our overtime period, our extra innings, if you will, is going to be a brief one. Just going to wrap up this conversation with Orion Kerkering. Again, he's been asked to do a lot. Orion Kerkering was expected to be probably your second righty and maybe your 4th pitcher. In terms of like listing the guys, the expectation was, to me, heading into the season, Alvarado, Romano, even though I think the expectation was too high for what I would have expected, but I think it was Alvarado, Romano, Strahm, Kerkering. Take Alvarado out of the fold, and now he's asked to be the 3. And it becomes a more difficult task. Orion Kerkering right now has thrown a lot of games so far this season. He has appeared, excuse me while I pull this up, I lost it for a second. He has appeared in 31 games out of the first 70. How many have the Phillies played? 72 so far this year? I think it's 72 games they've played. 71 games. He has appeared in 31 of 71. He is on pace for 142 to be in 62 games. There's a very realistic chance that Orion Kerkering makes 70 appearances this year. Last year he made 64. Very real chance he makes 70 or if not more. But last year his expectations were to be the 4th guy out of the bullpen, which is probably a fair slot for him. This year, now he's expected to be 3. And the way that he's pitched, he's called upon to, in Rob Thompson's bullpen, to maybe even be more like 2. Because we know that Rob Thompson likes to mix and match and get 3 important outs in high leverage situations when called upon. And so last year, those innings were going to Jeff Hoffman. This year, they're going to Orion Kerkering, especially against right-handed hitters. As I said, 20 appearances deemed high leverage, quote unquote, is pretty significant. He's going to get a lot of those appearances because of what the Phillies need and have to ask of him, especially with Jose Alvarado out for, another 60-some-odd games, and the Phillies not having made their trade deadline move that I expect them to make just yet. So I have to give credit where credit's due. Kerkering's been significantly better as of late, compared to his early April stint. All right, that's going to wrap up today's show. Thank you so much to everybody in the chat. Ray Schumacher, K-Red, Filthy McNasty, Elephant in the Room, John Peace, Molly and Barkley's Life, Barbara Carroll, everybody that was with us. Thank you so much. If I forgot you, I apologize. To those that were able to donate to our Big Brothers Big Sisters charity event, thank you. We really, really, really appreciate you as well. And remember, PHLY Streamathon on Wednesday, June 18th. We're going to go live, not just 12 shows. We are going live for one show for 12 consecutive hours, brought to you by our friends over at TrueMark Financial. Full wall-to-wall coverage, chaos, laughs, some wild stuff's about to happen. I have been told there are going to be dares and challenges and things like that involved.
There are.
Bill told us in our PHLY Slack channel that somebody could hit him over the back with an acoustic guitar, like WWE.
Sounds like fun.
I heard that. I think Jamie's taking on the one chip challenge. I'll do that.
I would do that.
I'll be a part of that.
I would do that.
There is going to be the producer show that we lobbied for is happening. Kind of an AMA type style thing with producers.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
So we'll all be on that. There's going to be a lot going on. So whether you're thinking about wanting to see your friends with the Eagles show, the Flyer show, us here at the Philly show, it's going to be a lot of crossover. Andrew, you're actually going to be in my seat for the John Mark show, I believe.
I am,
so
yes.
You're going to be with John.
Yes.
I'm going to be on later in the evening doing a whole bunch of different stuff. It's just going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. So Wednesday from 8 o'clock. Are we 8 to 8?
I believe so. 12 hours.
That would be 12 hours, right?
Yep.
So yeah, from 8 o'clock, John Marks is going to kick things off at 8 o'clock. I've got you at the end of the night with the PHLY Phillies pregame show, part of a watch along. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Hot One style show might be. That's a good idea.
That is a good idea.
Hot One style show with some AMA questions. I'm in.
I would do that.
I'm 100% in. Let's get Jamie in on that. All right. We're streaming it all on YouTube, and you can subscribe. You can support us by subscribing, of course. It helps us continue to create the content, as you know. You can like the video. And as we continue to host our Big Brothers Big Sisters fundraiser, appreciate you all for being a part of that. So 12 hours, one city, all vibes. Wednesday, June 18th, PHLY Streamathon. Again, subscribe now before you get out of here. Thank you so much to everybody in the chat. We appreciate you. Big thank you to both Andrew and Joey for producing today's show. Head on over to the Eagles show. They're live now from 2 to 3. Sixers will wrap up things at 3 o'clock today. We'll be back. No Philly show per se on Wednesday because of that live show, but we'll have you covered. Don't worry. You're not going to want to miss Wednesday's show. We'll be back with a traditional Phillies podcast Friday afternoon at 1 o'clock. We'll try to check in with Jim Salisbury because we haven't had a chance to speak with him in a while. and we'll do that all on Friday afternoon. So until that time, I'll talk to you Wednesday. PHLY Philly show back on Friday, all at 1 o'clock right here on PHLY. See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.